Mr. Doug MacLeod in the Bing Lounge with us this afternoon. I sure am glad that no one in your life told you to quit telling those stories.
Me too.
You got a lifetime full of them, don't you?
I'm afraid so.
Have you ever thought maybe after you write a song, you go, oh, maybe they don't need to know that much about me?
Yeah, I have. I wish you hadn't asked that question too, Steve.
Well, you're in top form, man. You look in good health. Everything well?
Yeah, everything's well. Thank you. Yes.
Good. Welcome to Portland.
I'm glad to be here.
Back at it again at Duff's Garage tonight with Lawrence Sheehan. The new album, There's a Time, reference.
Right.
Was it hard to pack all three of you in a 6,000 square foot studio?
I'm going to tell you, I've said this. There's enough room in there for me and Jimmy and Denny, the Duke Ellington Orchestra, the London Philharmonic, the Boston Pops, a caterer, and a harmonica player. That's how much room we had in that place.
But you did it as raw as I've ever seen. I mean, it's just right back to like what you're doing right here, just in front of somebody, no headphones, and into a microphone, right?
I know. I loved it. It was an adjustment for us, you know. But Keith O'Johnson, I mean, the man is a genius. How he does it and his equipment, you look at it and you go, how's this going to work, you know? And then all of a sudden, when you're playing, it's like it used to be when we were younger. We just sit down on the porch, and maybe, you know, a guitar player and then a bass player come by, and maybe the drummer. Now Jimmy had a drum set. Back in the porch days, you know, guy'd take a phone book and brushes and you're just sitting there making music, you know. Kind of nice thing.
So when you knew you were going to record this one, did you call Jimmy for this? Because it's great to see you with him again.
Actually, Jan Mancuso of Reference Recordings suggested that, and Jimmy and I are old friends, and it was like 16 years, Steve, since we had ever recorded again. And I was up here a year ago, I think, and I went over to Jimmy's house and we sat down, we played together. We always enjoyed playing together. And he said, man, we got to do an album together. And it turned out to be this one. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it's called There's a Time, and we were talking about Johnny Adams in the back, and Johnny had this song called There Is Always One More Time. Explain to me There's a Time.
Well, that comes from a song called the Up Song that's on the album. And it says there's a time for people to stand up. There's a time for people to pay up. There's a time for people to shut up. There's a time for people to speak up. There's time for people to get up and rise up. But there's never time to give up. Don't you ever give up. Mm-hmm. That's what that means.
Well, you know, we were talking back in the room, and there's so many artists that sit up here, and I just say how they've come into their own. You, my man, have had this kind of storytelling feeling since the very beginning. We were taking a look at your first album here. And just, you know, there's got to be some roads traveled and lessons learned beyond the new album and your first. But you came out of the Big Joe Turners and working Pee Wee Crayton and George Harmonica Smith. Yeah. And I heard also George gave you the title of dub?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
What did you take away from those years working with legends, absolute legends?
Well, I think what I got from them was the honesty of the blues. I mean, those guys, I mean, they could tell stories and lies, and there was some rascalizations going on, too. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of stuff going on with those guys. But what I got from them was how honest the music was going to the people. And especially George Harmonica Smith, who, entertainment to him didn't stop when he got off the stage. You know how you see an entertainer and they're one way on the stage, and then you meet them off the stage and they're not the same person? George didn't believe in that. George said, no, that's a gift you got. Just like a mechanic can fix a car, a carpenter can, do we got time for a story?
Oh, please.
Do we?
Yes.
All right. I'll tell you this story. I do have stories, you know. But I'll tell you the importance of George. We went over to Sweden, and it was about 1980. And we were going to go over to Sweden to do this tour. But they didn't want me in the band because I was white. And the guy actually called, and he had heard me sing. He said, I love that band. And then when they saw the picture, they said, who's the white guy? And George had said, that's Dub. And they said, is he the singer? And they said, yeah. George said, yeah, and he's a guitar player. He said, well, we'd love to have you, George, but you can't bring him. So George said, no Dub, no George. So the guy had to take us. And George said, I want you to open the show. And I did. And the first 3 or 4 shows, it was really tough. People didn't like me. I went over to George. I said, George, you know, I'm just hurting your show. I think I ought to just shut up and just play the guitar. He said, Dub, I'm the leader of the band here. You open. I thought he was trying to crucify me. That's what I thought was going on. Well, as it turned out, we got to Sweden. We got to Stockholm at a club called the Studion. And it hit. The people accepted me. And I really got kind of full of myself. I had an afro back in those days, but now it was out to here. My head was so big. And I was sitting in the back drinking the Prips beer. And George come by to see me. And George said, Dub, boy, you sure sound good today. People love you. I said, yeah, George, yeah. He said, yeah, Dub, they liked your singing. They liked your guitar playing, too. Ooh, you did great, Dub. I said, yeah, George, I did great. He said, tell me something, Dub. When you home and you got a problem with your plumbing, he said, I'm not talking about under the sink plumbing. I'm talking about under the floor plumbing. Are you the man to take care of that? I said, no. I'll call the plumber. George said back, plumber. Mm-hmm. Tell me something, George. Tell me something, Dub. Tell me this. When your car go bad, you the man that gonna fix it? I said, no, George, I gotta take it to a mechanic. He said, that's right, mechanic. Mm-hmm, mechanic. Mm-hmm. I said, one more thing I want to ask you, Dub. I said, what's that, George? If Patty, that's my wife, if Patty want to have a new room on the house, are you the man that's going to do that? I said, George, no, I'm not going to do that. I got to hire somebody to do that. I said, why are you saying this to me? He said, your head back to the right size yet, Dub?
Can't do it all, can we? I want to bring you back over to my house, and we're going to listen to all those stories, all right, after this? This is so fun. New album, There's a Time. He's at Duff's Garage tonight, and my goodness, it is such an honor to be talking with you.
Oh, man, the feeling's mutual, Steve.
Been playing your music for so long. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Doug MacLeod.
Thank you.